For decades, there's been one book that leaders just keep turning to for a real roadmap to effectiveness: Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits. But you have to wonder, in today's world of just constant change, do these principles still work? Can they really help you build a winning strategy and a culture that lasts? Well, let's dive in and see how these habits can be a modern leader's compass. I mean, look at this. When you have leaders at the absolute top, people like Meg Whitman at HP, calling these principles a guide for their entire journey, well, we're not just talking about a few simple tips and tricks. This is more like a foundational operating system for leadership. And it's not just a one-off. Microsoft's former COO, Kevin Turner, says the exact same thing. He calls them enduring and universal truths. So this isn't about some fleeting business trend. This is about building leadership that actually lasts because it's built on something solid, real, values-based principles. And this quote right here, wow, it shows you the power of these ideas goes way beyond the boardroom. For Lieutenant General Charles Greene, this framework was literally a matter of life and death on the battlefield. It gave everyone a shared language to build a system that saved countless lives. I mean, that is the kind of impact you get from clear foundational principles. So, what is this foundation that Covey keeps talking about? Well, it boils down to this really simple but, pretty profound idea he calls the inside-out approach. It basically says that before you can even think about leading your team, you have to lead yourself first. Real leadership isn't about tactics, it's about your character. Okay, so let's break this down. For a long time, leadership advice was all about what he calls the personality ethic. Communication techniques, thinking positive, basically quick fixes. But Covey saw this as totally superficial. The real bedrock, he said, is the character ethic. Things like integrity, humility, fidelity. You just can't fake character, and without it, there's no way you can build a high-trust culture. And this, right here, is the heart of it. The inside-out approach just means you do the work on yourself first. You have to achieve what Covey calls private victories, like mastering yourself, before you can ever hope to achieve public victories, which is leading other people effectively. It all starts inside you, your mindset, your character, your real motives. All right, take a good look at this image. What do you see? A young woman? An old woman? Now, you can probably see both, but here's the thing. You can't see them at the same time. This is a perfect metaphor for a paradigm. It's the lens you use to see the world. As a leader, if your team is stuck, it's usually not the problem itself that's the issue. It's the way you're seeing the problem. The best leaders know how to shift their paradigm. So, once a leader starts working from that inside-out place, what's next? Well, their first huge job is to shape the organization's future. This is what Covey calls the first creation. And that leads us right into habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. For a leader, this habit is just everything. It's being able to see the destination with total clarity before you even take the first step. This isn't just about setting goals. This is the mental creation of your company's future. It's the architect phase of leadership. And this quote, man, this is why that habit is so vital. It just perfectly captures the danger of being busy but not effective. As a leader, you can push your team to work harder and harder, but if that whole ladder of success is leaning against the wrong wall, all that incredible effort is just wasted. Direction is always more important than speed. So here's the big idea. Everything is created twice. First, it's created in your mind, and then it's created physically, right? A house is designed before it's ever built. A business plan is written before you open the doors. As a leader, your main job is that first creation, the vision, the strategy, the mission. Management is the second creation, making it all happen, but leadership has to come first. Seriously, think about it. When businesses fail, it's rarely because people didn't work hard enough. It's almost always a failure in that first mental creation, a flawed strategy, a complete misread of the market. This is where leadership has its biggest impact. Get the vision right, and you're setting the entire stage for success. And here's where it all comes together, where strategy bumps right into culture. You can't just cook up a mission in some back room and then hand it down. If you want people to actually buy in, you need their involvement. When your team helps you build the vision, that first creation, they become deeply personally committed to it. This isn't some nice to have, folks. It's the absolute foundation of an engaged, high-trust culture. Okay, so you've got the vision. It's clear. People are involved. Now what? How do you bring it to life? Well, that brings us to the second creation, executing that vision and building a culture of trust, day in and day out. To really get how great leaders spend their time, Covey gives us this amazing tool, the time management matrix. So many leaders get trapped in quadrant I. It's all the urgent, important stuff, constant firefighting. But if you live there, it just leads to stress, burnout, and a culture that's always reacting instead of creating. The secret to breaking out of that cycle, Covey argues, is to shift your focus. The most effective leaders don't live in the urgent. They choose to live in quadrant 2. These are the things that are super important, but they're not urgent yet. This is where real leadership happens. And just look at what lives in quadrant 2: building relationships, thinking long-term, proactive work, empowering other people. See, these aren't about managing crises. They're about building the capacity in your people and in your systems so that crises don't happen in the first place. This is literally where you build a high-trust culture. So here's the really cool part. When you start living in quadrant 2, your whole leadership style just transforms. You stop being a controller and you become an empowerer. When you have a clear shared vision and high trust, your job isn't to micromanage. It's to be a resource, clear the roadblocks, and then get out of the way and let your talented people do their thing. But look, none of this is possible if the leader burns out. So the final critical piece of this puzzle is about sustaining the organization's single most important asset, and that's you. And this is habit 7, sharpen the saw. Honestly, this is the habit that makes all the others possible. Think about a woodcutter who says he's too busy chopping to sharpen his saw. He's going to become pretty ineffective pretty fast. Well, as a leader, you are the saw, and you need regular, balanced renewal to stay sharp. Covey breaks this down into 4 key dimensions. There's the physical, your health, exercise, nutrition; the mental, always learning, thinking strategically; the social and emotional, investing in your key relationships; and finally, the spiritual, connecting to your deepest values and your purpose. If you neglect any one of these, you're eventually going to dull your blade as a leader. And this is the ultimate takeaway, right here. Real security for a leader isn't about your title, your current job. It's your own personal power to produce results. Sharpening the saw isn't a luxury. It's an economic necessity that builds your ability to think, to create, and to adapt no matter what environment you're in. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Just look at those 4 dimensions: physical, mental, social/emotional, and spiritual. As you're trying to navigate all the complexities of building your team and your strategy, which area of your own saw have you been neglecting the most? What's the one thing you need to invest in first?